to another brilliant episode of E&F TV's Bridging the Gap. And today I'm joined by Fathiat Olawuwo, students at the City of Liverpool College. Fathiat, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Jason. I'm all right. Hope your day's going well too.
It is, and I was just saying we were supposed to record this last week, but I cancelled due to tummy trouble. So thank you for being so accommodating and popping on to see me.
It's fine. I'm happy to do this anyway.
I'm really excited to do this actually because I've been aware of you for some time due to your, I suppose, how fantastic you are on LinkedIn about banging the drum for immigrants and easing the way and helping people. It's been in my mind to invite you on the show for some time. So I'm really excited to have you here. But for anyone that doesn't know you, if you're on LinkedIn, you probably do know you, but for anyone that doesn't, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Fathiat. I am currently a 13th student at City of Liverpool College. So I am a social media manager as well, and I create content centered around my experiences as a migrant, being a student, and also just generally having to help people facing similar journeys as well, just to help them see themselves through my story, know that they're not alone in this migrant journey, and also empower students as well. That's that through my LinkedIn, and yeah, that's it about me.
You mentioned your story. Tell us your story from, because I believe you're from Nigeria, immigrated to the UK within the last few years.
Yeah.
Tell us your story.
Okay. So, um, in 2022, migrated to the UK. So it's been about 2 years now, and I came in being a student of university and having to drop out due to having to relocate between countries. So coming onto the UK, it wasn't as easy because my parents were on the skilled worker visa. They didn't get the jobs that they had in mind to actually come in with due to the promises of the visa. So it was quite hard for us. But thankfully, we're able to adjust within 6 months and get a place of our own and all of that. But me getting into school was delayed due to schools not recognizing my results. So I think we did the work, which is the African certifications for West Africa, but it wasn't recognized by schools, and I had to do conversion. I did conversion, was still getting rejected by colleges, and it was hard for me then because I was wondering, okay, so why is it getting rejected even after converting it to the recognized UK qualifications? And I had to seek and consult people that were in the education space, particularly Africans or people that had migrated, just in case they had experience or they had people with similar cases. And it was then I started to discover the importance of representation and the importance of having people just like you, or people that have gone through something similar that you have, just to ensure that you know that okay, the problem I'm facing is not just me facing it. There are so many people within the same shoes, and information is so important. So reaching out to to loads of people, and there was this person that really stood out. He he just ensured me that my results were totally fine because I had pretty good results. They weren't terrible grades; they were very much okay grades. But it was just this certification not being recognized by colleges here. So he consulted the schools, he wrote them emails and showed them like my results and establishing it that this is actually a standard. These qualifications are from a reputable conversion organization as well. So why exactly am I not getting accepted due to my certifications not being recognized? And eventually back and forth, and I got admissions in the schools I was. And that really stood out to me because if I had not reached out to this person, I would have believed through due to the preconceived notions of the schools or whatever admission processes they had, that my results weren't valid enough to be given admission. And it was then that it all started. So I started to write about my experiences being in the UK, experiences having experienced a knowledge gap because I waited a year before getting into college, my experiences having to go from being in university in Nigeria, coming here to college, and I'm 2 years older than my peers in class. and all that's around it's also adapting to the Western culture as well. And it's just me doing my thing and actually representing people that look like me, particularly people that are just trying to navigate spaces that I currently am in, and helping them understand that the difficulties they face are not they're not just distinct to them, that everybody is actually facing one or two similar to that. And like we can also build a community where we can address our challenges and just find a way to make it easier to navigate all as a community.
See, I think you do fantastically well because you sought help, which my worry is that a lot of people in your situation won't do in
Mhm.
the way that you saw the challenge of the that your grades not translating into UK equivalent and then went out and got help and solved it. Have you
Mhm.
spoken to other people that have had similar issues?
Yeah. So getting into college, I got to meet a lot of people. And even before then, I got to meet a lot of people that had similar problems. So I remember the first day in college as well, when I was like during the admission process, I met somebody that had the same qualification in hand because I saw the envelope. So I think the envelope they used to distribute the results to people that convert their results is quite similar. So I'm like, oh my God, you also did the conversion. And she was like, yeah, that she did the conversion and she was getting rejected and she finally found the school I was in and it has been a rough patch for her because she actually considered going back to do GCSEs, and which was quite an option, but it wasn't something that came to her easily because her having to go back to do GCSEs when she already has the exact level of qualification with her, but it's just due to preconceived notions and structural inequities that exist within the system that was not giving her access to the qualification or the level of education she desired at the time. And this was not because her grades weren't good enough, but just because they didn't recognize it. And it really struck with me because it was the exact same thing that I was facing. I also met people that due to their grades not being recognized, they just had to go back to the GCSEs. They just had to, and was quite a sacrifice for them because imagine when you can already do your level three qualifications and having to go back to level two, I think. Yeah,
Mm.
it was it's not an easy journey. So I'm just thankful that I was able to actually reach out to people that were coming into the country for the first time, don't know how to navigate the educational system, and just help by providing them access to people and access to information that will help them to navigate the process better.
What you're doing is commendable. I imagine that relocating, immigrating to a new country, a new way of life, new culture is difficult enough without the added layer of complexity, which is your grades not translating.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about what happened when you came to the UK. Tell us a little bit about how you integrated culturally, what barriers you came up against, and how you overcame them.
Okay, so I think the first barrier I faced was my dialect. So coming from Nigeria, which we our first language is English language, and it's a language I've spoken all my life. And coming here and listening to the British accent really threw me off. Because I was wondering, like, is it not the same English we're all speaking? Like, how come you people speak so fast? And how come you guys have so many different accents? Like, the North speak differently from people in the Middle East. And like, it was just so funny because I could barely listen or understand when people were trying to communicate with me. And it wasn't, of course, it's just like trying to learn a new language. But imagine having to speak English, as having to hear English from people like you've never heard before, struggling to understand and struggling to communicate with people. Imagine having to discuss with somebody and you're like, oh, please, can you come again? Oh, please, I didn't hear that. Can you actually come again? It's quite frustrating because at some point people can perceive, I feel it's a thing where people perceive that you don't really know what you're saying, or people perceive you not to be a good communicator or
Mm.
someone with not so good intellect. And sometimes it really goes hard on you personally when you're struggling to communicate. I can't even imagine if I didn't have any proper understanding of English language beforehand. But coming down now, looking back, I think I can now understand, at least I can speak with you. I now understand the accents better. And it's not as hard as it was. It's just through having to listen over and over again, experience, and just having to learn how people go about their accents and all of that. Another thing I encountered was the weather. Coming from a tropical country where it was always hot, always hot. And the coming here to extreme weather, going from 30 degrees, 40 degrees in Nigeria to -1, -2, 2, and even 10 if we're lucky during winter was hard for me to adjust to, but I slowly adjusted with time. I'm just trying to think because there's so many cultures we experience coming from Nigeria and moving down to the West, even with the way we relate to people. Like back home, respect is something that is really considered as a um, very overt value, and having to address people by their names was something that really threw me off. And back home, it's seen as something positive, something that that shows that you really regard the person. But imagine calling your boss ma or sa. They perceive that you are trying to impose unnecessary respect on them, and they might not even like it themselves.
Mm.
So having to go from respecting people, addressing them by sa ma, or having to offer carrying their bags and all of that, and doing that here, and people don't like it. That was a very huge culture shock for me tonight. And
Yeah.
there's so many more.
Going back to the dialect, I think the UK is, for quite a small island, quite rich in variety of different dialects. And certainly you're based in Liverpool. And imagine the difference between understanding as an immigrant the Liverpool accent versus Yorkshire accent or Cockney accent in London is yeah, they're almost like different languages for
Mhm.
somebody that's coming in and kind of from a different country. I imagine that's really difficult. What
Yeah.
one aspect of it, I suppose, is that for someone like you, it could have been fairly isolating, having communication difficulties. Did you find that?
Yeah, it was isolating at some point because I found myself trying to like network and join conversations, trying to get to know more people. But it was quite difficult because I couldn't even hear what they were saying. There's sometimes where I'll attend networking events, try to network with people, and they try to discuss. And one thing about people in the UK generally, they speak so quietly, especially in events. They can speak quite quietly because in Nigeria we are quite, I don't know how to put it, but quite straightforward and we talk quite loudly.
Yeah,
So coming here, I discovered that people in the UK talk quietly than what I consider normal. So sometimes I'm struggling to hear because of the low voice and the dialect as well. So I can't literally comprehend what they're saying within these events. That was when I initially came. So it was quite difficult for me to network. It was difficult for me to answer questions. Because in
mm,
class I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it was easy because I could go through notes before it was taught in class. So I just came in with my questions. I tried to follow rather than having to um, discover the subject or the topic or whatever they were talking about in class for the first time. So that was what I was using to actually help me manage. So I was able to adjust and learn the dialect very well. But in terms of what it cost me initially was networking, missing out on this first impressions, because
mm,
imagine me going for an interview or something like that, and this person asked me to go get something. Probably they asked me to drop my bag somewhere and I didn't hear anything.
yeah,
And they had to say it again, maybe twice or thrice for I to understand. So it wasn't easy. There were many terrible first impressions, but over time I got to understand the dialect and very well.
how did you overcome that, Fatia?
Okay, so I practiced active listening. I um what I did was having to focus on the person watching and trying to listen to you, so like not getting distracted. So active listening was something that I had to learn over time and actually try to redefine what active listening meant. It's not just having to understand what the person is saying, but actually looking at the person's gestures, um, maybe if they're using directions as well, maybe hand gestures, and just having to learn communication on another aspect. And it's also me understanding that regardless of my dialect, I don't have to try to speak in the British accent before I can get understood. Because there were
Yeah.
times where I felt, especially living in Liverpool, where they speak extremely fast, and this what's it called now? The northern accent. Um,
The Liverpool area is a Scouse accent, isn't it?
yeah, having to, and they speak in Scouse accents, which is quite more complicated than the normal
Yes.
London or normal general British accent. So there was this pressure to speak as fast as they did, just to be able to catch
Yeah.
up, and also try to speak in their dialect so that there's more fluent communication. But I've learned over time to understand that I'm also unique in my own way and my own dialects. My Nigerian mixed dialect is also fine as it is, and I can leverage that to also communicate with people. I don't have to try to force myself into a Scouse accent that I don't know how to use. So it was
Yeah.
just my understanding that okay, I already speak English. You're just trying to speak loudly, trying to integrate the musings of how they speak into how I speak as well, just so that both parties can understand and comprehend. So it was me not forcing myself to speak loudly or to speak fast, as fast as Scousers will, or or imposing or myself to fit in just so I could get understood. So I'm literally speaking the way I'll speak back at home and you understand me. So that's it. It's just not trying to force yourself to fit in, but just maintain a standard between fitting in and standing out.
Our mutual friend Omayeni, first to be known as Mo, from
Yeah.
Aways, was on the show last year and was telling me one particular story she told stuck out, and it was getting on the bus every morning. And
Mhm.
she said all the way to the bus, she was saying, like, repeating like a mantra, remember to say please and thank you, remember to say please and thank you, because it just wasn't a thing where she's from.
Mhm.
And obviously it's really British, isn't it, to be super polite, and that was something she found really difficult.
Yeah, yeah, same. We all have shared experiences there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the weather, you've just gradually got used to it, have you? The
Mhm.
ever-changing seasons and temperature.
Definitely.
Why are you so passionate about helping people like you, Fatia? Young people that have come to the UK that may be struggling either with the translation of grades or with the cultural differences. What makes you? Because it's really evident from your LinkedIn posts and what you do. Why is that so important to you?
Okay. So it's so important to me because personally, something I've experienced. So having to come down to the UK, my parents have little or no understanding of the system, how it works, um, how to. I had no understanding of even the educational system because back home I didn't have anybody in the UK. Were like literally the first in my family to come down to the West. So it was hard for me and I had to do research on my own. I had to reach out to people, build on networking skills, and I it was then I discovered that information and people are really vital to how successful you are, apart from hard work. And I also learned to kind of, in my own way, bridge the gap between access and opportunity, particularly for me, because I've learned that even being in college and like having education, it's not really enough in terms of having to build yourself, having to get into the career you want to go into, and just build generational wealth from the start. And I found so many other young, fresh generation immigrants that are currently battling the same. where they have to work, have to school, because they just have to assist their parents and siblings as well. And it's not easy because the people around you, people, other immigrants, tend to come in with skilled work visa where their parents are just on low paid jobs, like
Mm.
just minimal wage jobs. And, due to lack of representation, lack of them not seeing so many Black people climbing the ladder and achieving and um, breaking glass ceilings around them, they also tend to settle for less because they're just literally trying to get by the next day. So having to build their career or just try to immerse and emerge beyond uh, their current state is not even in the option for them because they're just literally trying to survive. And this is something that I I was experiencing when I first came in and having to network through LinkedIn, attending events, meeting people that were currently in my position. And I've also like built something in their own name and built something for themselves, regardless of like their backgrounds. They have been from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And also be, also having great big goals and then being able to achieve it in a new system really inspired me and motivated me to take on this work of helping low people from low socioeconomic backgrounds climb the ladder and also bridge access to opportunities, especially for Black people and first generation immigrants. So I took it upon myself to share my story, any tips, lessons, or information I learned along the way that can make it easier for people like me, sharing it as well, just to ensure that um, I am achieving the goal of dying empty, where I know that whatever I learned is can also be a benefit to someone out there, and just them encountering whatever I put out there can also help them or change their lives it's motivating for me, and that's why it really matters to me. So that's why I do what I do.
What you're saying is profound and so important. Tell us a little bit about how you go about that. What kind of things do you do to help people?
Okay. So currently I do posting on LinkedIn where I share strategies, share tips, I share experiences that and also opportunities that have helped me where I've had opportunities to work with people from different backgrounds, where I've had opportunities to have access to opportunities, fully sponsored sponsorships, and scholarships as well. Also sharing that with people from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And I also work with an organization where we help students, particularly from low socioeconomic backgrounds, with em empowering them with skills and resources such as trainings on basic skills like CV writing, basic skills like networking, skills like helping them putting themselves out there, and how they can just leverage their experiences to help them access bigger opportunities. As you all know, I'm currently chasing apprenticeships, and I've met people that they've been able to gain apprenticeships just by using their story, of course, with the skills and grades as well. But yeah, diverse experiences having to come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, being from Nigeria, coming to the UK, it's something they're bringing to the table as well. And just helping people to see that, okay, there's something in you that it's not common amidst everybody else. And just helping you to see the power of your own story and helping you, empowering you to see the virtue of your experiences and being able to bring that to the table as well as your grades and qualifications too.
Brilliant. And are you able to give a shout out to the person that or business that helped you initially when you had those problems with translation of grades?
Oh yes. He's not yes. So he runs a community for
Okay.
people from African dialects or African backgrounds. And name of the community is Manchester Youth Empowerment Charity.
Okay.
So it helps people navigate their culture, actually people that want to get connected with their roots. It helps them by organizing events, organizing initiatives. We have different charity events as well where we come together for races, marathons, and we literally just help other young people, especially from African descent. It also provides opportunities and scholarships for students, particularly from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And yeah, is really an amazing person and he has helped many other students. So you can check them out. It's MYEC, it's an organization, yeah. And also I've joined several other organizations that have really helped me in terms of experiences and in terms of getting access into organizations such as PwC, Deloitte, and there've been a few, and also getting a scholarship to do my CISI qualification. And the name of the organization is Young Women into Finance and Social Mobility Foundation. They've been really helpful in my journey as
Brilliant. I'm sure that'll be of help to a lot of people. But
well. Yeah.
what's next for Fathiat? You're at
Yeah.
City of Liverpool College at the minute, studying. What's next for you? Could this become a full-time job for you, helping people like you?
Yes, it could be definitely, but currently I'm just trying to get into consulting because I've always had my background in finance. So I just want to
Yeah,
chase that a little bit further by having to do with something that has to deal with solving problems and coming up with solutions for people and also having to connect and build relationships with people. So I found consulting to have a great intersections. I missed all of that. So I'm currently looking into apprenticeships within management um, and investment consulting. So yeah, that should be what's next for me. And also building my community further um, beyond LinkedIn to across other platforms, creating physical events for students and basically empowering students by inviting guests, also sponsoring other students through scholarships for them building their skills. So that should be what's next for me.
fantastic. And I can't wait to hear how your life progresses because you're certainly someone at such a young age that's banging the drum for what is good and trying to help people. And I'm sure that, yeah, would you encourage people to get in touch with you maybe on LinkedIn if they're struggling,
Yeah,
suffering, the problems that you described resonate with them?
yeah, definitely. And reach out to me on LinkedIn. My username is just Fathiat Olawuwo.
Fantastic. Good. Well, Fatia, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure and an education. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. That's all we've got time for this week. Like and share the show because it helps us attract cool guests like Fatia and also tackle issues such as immigration. See you next week.
Here we go!